Welcome back to the best college football show on this channel, but maybe the whole internet as well. Uh, Justin back in house. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Yeah. Sorry I missed last week. This is a college basketball show, by the way, not a college football show. And man, I am very, very excited to be back, man. What a great last couple of weeks. Super excited to jump in, to the conversation we have today. And man, we called it out. Like, it's funny how college basketball works, right, Rick? It's like beginning of the season, a ton of movement. Then, like, towards the end of non-con, like it starts to stabilize a little bit. You don't see a whole bunch of stuff flying around. And then, man, when you get into conference play, whew, some bloodbaths going on. So excited to jump into some of the games. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. So I just got to call out. There is a college football podcast called the Shutdown Fullcast, and it's a fantastic show. But they
Okay.
start every show calling themselves the only college football podcast. Full stop.
Nice. Nice.
So
Okay.
little
Yeah.
head nod, but
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is indeed Dead Ball Dancing, Club 602's college basketball podcast. We got a lot today.
Sure.
First thing you might notice is on our board. I didn't bother with the movements. It's been 2 weeks since we had
Yep.
an aggregate. So
Yep.
this is the current top 25. Tons of movement week to week, though,
Yeah.
when everything's considered. I know my
Yeah.
rankings have jumped around
Absolutely.
quite a bit now.
Yep.
We're going to look today at dangerous 12s.
Yes.
So the way the rest of the season is going to work, viewers, is we'll put the on notice segment to the side and we'll kind of work through bracketology because it's bracket season. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Everyone's
Yes, sir.
doing brackets. Everybody's
Yep.
excited for brackets. So we'll try to feature a different chunk of our bracket every week,
Yep.
understanding that it's going to change every single week.
Yep.
On the
Yep.
lead in for the show, Justin and I were talking about
Yep.
last four in and my last four in last week. And they're totally different now.
Yeah.
The teams that I had on the bubble are burst already. So,
Yeah.
but hey, man, I mean, we had a great 2 weeks of basketball.
Absolutely.
I'll let you take a lap, but generally we'll try to keep it
Yeah.
closer to current because there's been a lot happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rick, actually, if you don't mind, can we? I know we have some new viewers actually tuning into the show today. So, can you just give a quick synopsis, like really, really fast, on how our top 25 is kind of aggregated? Just because I know some people that are tuning in today that are new to college basketball. So, I was hoping maybe you can give just a really quick summary on how we do our top 25.
Yeah, so top 25 is a ranking of all 364 college basketball, 364 college basketball
Yeah.
teams, top to bottom.
Yep.
And then equally weighted between Justin and myself. And the reason we do that is to keep each other accountable, but also to kind of provide you a counterpoint from a ranking standpoint to the AP poll, to the coaches poll, to Ken Palm, who we value a little bit higher than the first two I mentioned. And then ESPN CBI, right?
Perfect.
So there's a lot of rankings out there, but this is ours, and it's
Yep.
from more of a we actually watch some games standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just jump straight into it. I'm going to start off with a few teams here. So obviously some new teams that you're seeing on here: Florida at 5, St. John's at 20, BYU slides all the way down to 24, Iowa at 25. But I'm going to talk about a few of those teams today. But if you don't mind, Rick, I'm actually going to talk about UConn. And how I rant a couple of weeks ago, obviously, kind of came into fruition because I missed bad 2 weeks ago. I missed on Purdue. Illinois beat the crap out of them. Tennessee, good win by Tennessee. But I think I nailed my UConn rant a couple of weeks ago, right? I said, hey, look, this team is, I think, overrated in my opinion, but I feel like I nailed it. So obviously, St. John's versus UConn, one of the best games that we had in this past week. And St. John's delivered a resounding statement win over a pretty good UConn team, 81-72 at home. And man, dude, like I think St. John's finally, creep back in our top 25 here, and I think we valued them pretty much the same. Man, did they look good in that game, Rick? 50% from the field, 22 from 31 from the free throw line, 16 to 9 assist to turnover, 42 points in the paint against one of the strongest defensive teams in the nation, man. 3 guys in double figures, including Ejiofor. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that guy play, but wow, that guy's a beast. And I thought St. John's really looked like the team who we thought they would be kind of coming into the season after a pretty good year last year. they completely stifled UConn's offense. Like, I don't know if you had a chance to watch that game, but they made them look so uncomfortable. That like,
So I watched every second of this game. I have a slightly different take. I
yeah,
have a
oh,
slightly different take.
sure.
We have talked a lot about UConn. You've been very critical of UConn.
Yeah.
But even in you being critical and me being less critical, we've been saying kind of the same things.
Yeah, sure.
And I saw exactly the same from UConn. They played with their food. St. John's played a perfectly executed first half.
Yep.
And we're tied at the half.
Yeah.
St. John's did everything right. UConn did a lot of things wrong. And until the last 2 minutes and 50 seconds, this game was anyone's game.
Sure.
And I think that's the big takeaway for me. I want to eat a little bit of crow because I shit on coaching all the time.
Yeah.
Those St. John kids are too stupid to have game planned the way they game planned. They saw something in that UConn offense. They were trying to pickpocket constantly, man. They were reaching around constantly. The guard, his name's escaping me at the moment, but he's calling out plays and dribbling away from his body, and they poked the ball out like 4 or 5 times on him. And that's coaching, right? They watched enough film to do that. The players did come up with that.
Right? It's Pitino, though, right? And I do want to play like. I think I really like your point, but one thing I want to say is UConn did a lot of things wrong because I think St. John's forced them to do a lot of things wrong.
Fair.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, UConn wasn't at their best, but I think it's because St. John's forced them into 15 turnovers. I think it's because St. John's defended without fouling only 12 free throws.
Absolutely.
Right? So
but
it's
we
like
both still have UConn ranked higher.
Of course. No.
Right.
Of course, because they're still, I think, the better team, right? Like, they're obviously still the better team. But what I saw out of St. John's, I think, was something that they have been good at, right? Forcing turnovers, defending without fouling, getting to the line. And I think the way that they played against UConn, especially if they're starting to flow that way, and Pitino is starting to game plan a little – Pitino, not the players, are starting to game plan a little bit better. I think that's a repeatable performance. Are they going to repeat it every game? No. Are they going to win the national championship? No. But I think if this team can figure out how to – repeat that performance against UConn, there's a chance that they can win the Big East championship. A chance. UConn should still be the resounding favorite, but I was really pleasantly surprised because of how uncomfortable St. John's made them. And I think I'm excited to see how they do kind of through the rest of the season because they looked really, really sharp. And it's what I was hoping out of them for the whole season. So just wanted to kind of call them out there because we both put them in our top 25.
So I have 5 Big East teams making the tournament right now.
Yeah. Okay.
But I want to ask you, what is the better name? Is it the Small East or the Big Least? Because I don't think
you're so
that
good, dude. God damn.
I don't think they get a team out of the first round. I have not seen anything from these teams taking into account what we saw from UConn last night that makes me think that they're going to be seeded high enough to not be at risk of a loss. Right now, I have UConn. What? I have UConn at 15. That makes them a 4 seed.
Yep.
You're telling me there's not a 13 that can knock off this UConn team? We're going to talk about some dangerous 12s, but it's kind of the same conversation, right? Resurgent TCU, a nasty looking Baylor, maybe.
Yeah. And I'd like Big Least. I think that's you're so good with the names, dude. I think
got a lot of time on my hands.
We'll get into obviously you have a great call out. You stole one of my call outs on really good 12s. I'll let you get into that a little bit later, but I think you're absolutely right. If UConn has that performance in a first round against a High Point, like imagine them play a High Point that tested a really good Purdue team last year, an Elite 8 Purdue team last year. There's a chance that they lose. Caveat, I think the only team that makes it out of the first round, potentially, in the Big East is Villanova. They've looked the most consistent all year, and I really like the way that team is playing right now. So I would actually go as far to say, does Villanova win the conference tournament maybe? Like, that's kind of
very possible.
It'll
be
cool
freaking
take, right?
Like Providence. Like, you just like come up in.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into another one of the teams I think, that's kind of new in our rankings here. And how about A&M at 23, man? A&M at 23 for us. man, I wrote them off early season. I think we both did, right? I mean, we had them as low as like 50, right? Because they looked really horrific, obviously, early in the season. All of a sudden, you look up, they're first in the SEC, dude. They're 7-2, 17-5 overall. Tough loss against Bama, 197, but that was in Tuscaloosa, right? So, Tuscaloosa is a pretty tough place to play. They aren't doing it the traditional A&M way. A&M has hung their hat for years on the defensive side of the court, and man, this team is unbelievable on the offensive side of the court, dude. Number 2 in scoring, number 3 in assists, 11th in assist to turnovers, 28th in three-point percentage, 12th in field goals made per game. They're 4th in the nation in 3 points made per game. This team can absolutely fly up and down the court. They have the best second half offense in the nation, which, as you and I have talked about, bodes really well going into the tournament, because if it's close at half, you can just straight out step on someone's neck in the second half of the basketball games and really, really close team out. They're averaging almost 50 points a game in the second half of teams. The defense has struggled all year, right? Which is very unlike an A&M team that we've seen in the past decade, but they're starting to put it together. And to me, that's scary, right? The Georgia game. You and I have been very high on Georgia all year. We've obviously dropped them out of our top 25 recently because they've been struggling. They held Georgia, who's one of the best offenses in the nation, to 40% from the field and 25% from three. They only allowed them 10 free throws committed because of 13 fouls. They're starting to figure it out. I think that Texas A&M is a team to keep an eye on. They seem to make the tournament most years. And in an SEC that looks a bit more wide open, right, than years prior, we'll obviously get into some SEC teams later in our conversation. I think A&M has a chance to really put together a strong run to end their season. And I wouldn't be surprised if you look up and in the conference tournament, you see A&M make the final. Are they going to win the final? Nah. Tennessee's still good. Florida's still good. You still got Arkansas, Kentucky, right? Some teams. Vanderbilt's still in our top 25. So I don't think they should be the favorite, but I think with the way that they've been playing and the trajectory they're on, they have a chance to make some noise. I don't know if you had a chance to watch any of the A&M games. I saw you slide them up in your rankings as well.
Yeah, I like the way they played Bama on Wednesday.
Yep.
Obviously in a loss, but beating Georgia by 15 is nothing to shirk at there. So I like the way they're playing. Being able to score 97 points on Alabama is impressive. Obviously the loss doesn't help you.
No.
But you got some games coming up against SEC elites that are not as good as Alabama. They've beaten what now looks like a really good Texas team. They got games coming up against Arkansas. They got a game coming up against Florida. So I need to see a little bit more, but obviously I've ranked them for the talent that I've seen, and any team that can hang 97 on Sweet 16 Alabama, I mean, that's a pretty solid offense.
They're so good from the line. Like they shot 19 for 20 against Georgia. I mean, that is just that's absurd. And like you look at the remaining schedule, and they have Florida, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. Tough. I can see him beating Vandy. I can see him potentially trying Arkansas away. But then the rest of your schedule is Missouri, win, right? Ole Miss, win. Oklahoma hasn't looked as good, win. Texas at home, chance that's a win. Kentucky's been massively inconsistent. That's a game at home, could be a win. And then LSU. Like you have to play mid to low teams despite, having to play Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Florida. And I think, even if you lose to Florida, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas, you're only talking about 5 losses in SEC play. So I really like their chances to end top 4 in the SEC. You're a top 4 SEC team. You're talking about like a 5 seed, dude. Maybe a 6 seed, I guess. So keep an eye on A&M. They're looking really, really strong right now.
Well, I mean, hell, where we have them ranked right now, they're 6 already,
Right.
So
Right.
That's how I'm starting to think about these as we come into bracket season, which is a phrase you'll hear me say 19 times this episode, and then a whole bunch next week. But it's like I'm looking at how I have these teams seeded out. I'm looking at the bottom of conferences and saying, okay, who are these guys playing? Who's going to be up there? I mean, like one of my last 4 in right now is Washington, and Washington. Wow. Is a bad Washington team.
Yeah.
But
wow.
I mean, let's talk Big Ten real quick, I guess.
Let's do it, dude. Let's do it.
Big Ten might get 12 teams in. Like 10 is guaranteed.
So
11 depends on Indiana.
Sure.
And like I said, I have Washington as one of the last 4 in right now, which might be a stretch. They're 12 and 11.
Yeah.
They've played some bad teams and
8-4.
not played well against them. But they're through the tough part of their Big Ten schedule.
Sure.
So, you show up in tournament and the Big Ten's back to everybody playing. So it's a 6-day tournament and you get like the double buys. So you have the opportunity to build momentum. So we know Michigan, Illinois, Nebraska, Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin, probably UCLA are locks.
Iowa too. Iowa's a lock.
Yeah.
Iowa's a lock.
Well, Iowa, Ohio State, and USC are right there. If you put 68 teams in the tournament, the middle of the Big Ten is better than half the country. So
Agreed.
I think 11 bids for the Big Ten is really doable based on what we're seeing right now, because all of the cannibalization is going to come at the top, and those teams are still going to be in. And Michigan losing to Michigan State or Purdue losing to Illinois, like those things aren't changing the bottom 30 teams in the tournament, right? It's changing position at the top.
Sure.
So I think it's a long shot, but I think the Big Ten is going to have the most bids, and I think it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, I think my only question mark out of those 11 teams actually is USC. I don't want to steal your thunder, but Indy I think has obviously the win over Purdue. Who does USC have a win over? I mean, let me shut up. They're 17-6. They're 9-3 at home. Like, okay, they beat Wisconsin. They beat Indy
in Madison in a snowstorm.
Yeah, they beat Indy. Lost to Iowa, close 1-point win. But then, you look, dude, and it's like Rutgers they beat Rutgers by 3.
But they beat them. Beat them.
Washington State, they won by 7. They beat Oregon. Okay, they beat Oregon. They beat Seton Hall. Yeah, maybe
Illinois goes on a road trip, so Illinois will still beat them. Yeah. But they got Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, UCLA, Washington, UCLA again. I mean, realistically, this USC team could only lose the Illinois game, probably lose that Nebraska game, but they get both of them on the West Coast, on West Coast trips. And we've seen that weird shit can happen out there, especially with these Big Ten teams that aren't used to doing that.
Yeah, sure. Man, dude, I'll tell you what, I think that's an early – it's not going to be. I was going to say that could be an early pick for Game of the Week is USC at Ohio State, because that is a great positional game. To your point. So yeah, definitely keeping my eye on that one for next week. That's one that, even though we're not going to talk about that for Game of the Week, you guys should be tuning into that. Question. If we're talking about the Big Ten putting in 11, which I think is completely doable, does the A10 put in 6? St. Louis, VCU, George Mason, St. Joseph's, Dayton, and Davidson.
I don't think Davidson makes that cut.
Okay.
They'll give Dayton the token play-in.
Course.
So they can play at home, because they love doing that shit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the way it sits right now. I'm not sure that Davidson is there. I've been really impressed by the A10. We've talked about them quite a few times this year.
Yep.
They are solid.
They're
top
nasty,
to bottom,
bro. They're nasty.
When the Bonnies are like garbage in your conference and still 13-10, you've scheduled really, really well, and it's fun basketball. I caught a Rhode Island game, Rhode Island, Florida, maybe. I like watching when Rams play Rams, because there's like 4 Rams in this conference.
Yeah.
But it's just fun basketball, and
it is
just a look ahead for the viewers. Like, our Game of the Week this week is not the best game on the board, but it will be very entertaining. And
absolutely,
and that's where I'm pivoting, right? Like, I know what the Big Ten looks like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I need to go watch the Missouri Valley, the A10, the Atlantic Sun, and start picking up these games, because these teams are going to be in the tournament.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was just like a quick caveat, because I like talking about teams that may or may not get in. So should I do it?
Teams that may or may not get in. You want to talk about BYU right now?
I'm glad that you segued. That's very nice. Let's address the elephant in the room. Now, I was in Atlanta with our good friend Mike, watching this game live. and we were both absolutely dumbfounded by what BYU is doing. Like actually. So we complained about effort, right? We've complained about, how they look in the first half. We both took them to beat Texas Tech on the 17th, right? And after getting completely, absolutely blown out and dominated, you're like, okay, maybe this is a lesson that they can't suck in first halves, right? Like maybe this is a lesson that they need to figure it out so they don't go into half at deficit by 10 points, 15 points, and then have to fight their way back. UConn, Texas Tech, Arizona, Kansas game. Like, after that loss, they've went 1-3. 3 straight losses to Arizona. Okay, fine. Right. Like they played Arizona pretty tough. Kansas by 8. Not fine. Like, not fine at all. And then Oklahoma State just put 99 on their fucking heads. 99. Kansas game. Darren Peterson was calling clear out ISOs against their best player and legitimately scoring on him every time. They didn't switch. They didn't double. They left DeBonsa on an island, and he got absolutely cooked. Like, Darren Peterson said, nah, I'm tired of hearing about you. I'm the number 1 pick. I'm the best player, in the country. Kansas was up 20 points at halftime, Rick, and ended the game with 58% from the field, 50% from 3, 17 points or 17 assists to 6 turnovers, and 34 points in the paint. Oklahoma State shot 55% from the field and had 52 points in the paint against BYU. 52. BYU is now one of the worst Power 4 teams from a stat perspective on defense. They're 132nd in scoring, 111th in opponents' 3-point percentage, 200th in allowed 3 points made per game. We talked about how bad they are in first halves, Rick. They are 233rd in first half defense and 202nd in allowed field goals made. They're 5-4 in Big 12 now. Arizona, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech, UCF, and West Virginia all ahead of them. This team looks horrific. Like, this is, we've talked about effort all year across a lot of the top teams. Bama's shown poor effort. Kentucky's shown poor effort. At times, Iowa State, Purdue has shown poor effort. Iowa State's obviously looking really good right now. This team is abysmal on the effort side. I'm just very disappointed, right? Because in the middle of that, sorry, I'll turn it over to you, but like in the middle of that season, they started to really turn it around. We were like, oh my God, this is a top 10 team. This is a top 7 team. And they're just falling off the rails.
But let's talk about that, right? Because one thing we do that the AP poll doesn't have to do is we're accountable, right? So we just shit all over UConn.
Yep.
And BYU's best win for a long time was a 2-point loss to UConn.
Sure.
Okay? Beat the shit out of a Wisconsin team who is bad. Okay? You have a win over Miami. Is that your best win now? A win over a Clemson team, right? At home? Sure. Okay. Who has BYU beaten?
Nobody.
Like, I still probably have them ranked too high, but like based on what? I'm looking at the schedule right now. They've beaten no one. They've beaten teams that I have as like play-in teams, like Wisconsin, TCU, like bad teams from small conferences, like tight wins against like bottom tier ACC teams. At some point, we have to hold ourselves accountable for being wrong all year, right? Because this is the same trap the AP falls into.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Well, BYU is ranked in the top 5, so you can't really drop them out of the top 25 as long as they're still beating Little Sisters of the Poor. They're going to get crushed by this Houston team. They might go to Baylor and lose.
Yeah. Yep.
And then what are we talking about with BYU? Like, to your point, they are not in the top half of the Big 12.
No.
So are they better than West Virginia and UCF? Probably. But they're almost undoubtedly worse than Arizona, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech. And they just lost to Oklahoma State, who's a baseball school.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah. Right.
So like at some point we have to look at the whole body of work and be like, okay, we were wrong.
Yeah.
And I think I'm ready to be there, especially on the other side of the coin, a team like Kansas, who's executing really well, doing everything correctly, trending in the right direction. Like, is a freshman phenom really going to carry BYU into the second weekend of the tournament?
Well, we saw he can't. He had 36 against Oklahoma State and they lost because no one else is doing anything. And the reason why we had them high, because you're right, like we missed on the Big 12 in general, right?
Yeah, we were on the whole Big 12.
The whole Big 12, right? I mean, I was a little bit right on Arizona, I think, but that's literally the only team that I had. They won 14 games straight. It's the same thing with Miami of Ohio. I know I have Miami of Ohio overvalued. I'm doing it on purpose as a big kind of fuck you, right? But it's like when you win that many games straight, you have to be ranked well. Like that's just how it works.
But
And
why? But why? Like we talk about strength of schedule all the time.
Sure.
All right, like UC Riverside, Cal Baptist, Pacific, Abilene Christian, Eastern Washington. That's 5 of those wins in that streak. Those are all meaningless.
But
and all the big teams do it, right?
But I have a question though, dude. I have a question though. Who has St. Louis played?
Fair.
Right?
But St. Louis ranked because of their winning streak. I have them because of how they look on the court.
But that's what I'm saying, though. We had BYU ranked because they won 14 straight. I have Miami of Ohio ranked AP, whatever, for us because they've won 23 fucking games. Like,
but is a 40-point win over Pacific meaningful? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if you're stat padding against garbage teams,
I do. So UConn then.
Every Big East team, yeah.
Sure. I think we're arguing the same thing, just similar routes to it. But you're right. We were wrong. And one thing that I do want to say is, obviously, I've joked, I've joked a little bit about the best team in Utah, right? Like, who's the best team in Utah? BYU's sucking it up against teams like Oklahoma State. Utah is beating teams by 40, including a 20-point win over New Mexico State, who's going to be probably a tourney team. So I saw you
at Utah State like 5 spots better than BYU.
Yeah, so I just don't want to hear it anymore. And to be honest with you, like I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on the ranking here because you had mentioned, like, I want to stick on BYU for a second. BYU's probably overvalued from your perspective, just to give the viewers a little bit of context. Like BYU's 24, I have them at 29, and I think
it's 17.
And I think I'm struggling. 29 for me was a fuck you, right? It was you guys are playing bad. I don't even want to concern myself with you. I think 17 is probably more accurate, Rick. Like, honestly, but I'm just curious your thoughts. Like,
well, it's 17, and I have them ranked as my 6th best Big 12 team. So, like, yes,
I think I'm aligned.
And right, like they are bad. They are not what we expected. This BYU team is still better than Ohio State, UCLA, Santa Clara, North Carolina, Clemson, SMU, Kentucky, Texas, Wisconsin, Arkansas. Yeah. And that's like something that I like about our show and the way we talk through things is like BYU sucks and BYU is ranked in our top 25, right? Like both things can be true because we actually watch the games, because we talk through the action on the court. Like, here's what we're seeing from BYU. They have a freshman who can single-handedly win a game.
It's
Full
true.
Stop.
It's true.
They also have a supporting cast who can single-handedly lose them a 40-point effort by a potential player of the year candidate. Like those things can all exist together. So like, that's what I keep coming back to. So like 17 is probably too high for BYU. But then I need to think about my rankings of Texas Tech and Kansas and Houston. Like, are those rankings correct? Because if BYU is the 6th best team in the Big 12, okay, I nailed it. Is my entire slider wrong, right? Is SMU a better team than BYU? And that's where it gets really hard to compare these teams apples to apples, because SMU has looked great at times and SMU has looked like trash at times. And the SMU that's playing basketball right now might have a shot at being this BYU team. But SMU for the whole first half of the year was an afterthought.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to back into
I'm with that.
Rankings and it's tough. It's tough, but that's why we do it, right? I mean, that's why we talk about it. The 8 people, there's a whole bunch of people, very few of whom explain their personal rankings.
Yeah, and they also don't have any, like, that's what we keep talking about, the blue blood bias, right? It's like the AP continues to fall into that trap where we take a more statistical, like, holistic perspective because we watch basketball, right? So, there's just certain teams I've struggled where to put them. And I think BYU, UConn, Gonzaga, who, by the way, hell yeah, Portland State beat the ever-living crap out of them. Those three
I don't
teams
know
I've
if
struggled with.
I don't know if that's how it happened. But.
That's exactly how it happened. You're losing to Portland State. I don't want to hear it. Anyways, I'll turn it back over to you. They absolutely dominated Gonzaga. Screw Gonzaga.
Yeah, I mean, being up by 6 at the half is important. They
Yes.
were able to coast for
Yep.
most of that second half on that lead. Surprising result for sure.
Very, very.
I can't imagine Gonzaga doesn't still win that conference. But
Yeah, of course.
well,
So
let's talk about one blue blood team that we've kind of been all over on. Let's talk Florida basketball. All the way up into our top 5 after being relegated nearly out of the top 25 for chunks of the season here. Man, they look good. This Florida team has athletes everywhere.
Oh my God, dude. Just to give you guys some insight on Florida, right? Like, they were our number 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we had them at number 1. They won the tourney last year. They returned a good amount of guys. They hit the transfer portal hard, and then they sucked. They sucked. And they're finally playing like we thought they should be. This team is terrifying. Terrifying. The loss to Auburn was kind of inexcusable. Auburn's like probably one of the worst Power 4 teams in the nation. Before that, they had won 5 straight, including 3 AP ranked wins over Georgia, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt when Vanderbilt was number 10. They just beat the ever-loving shit out of Alabama by, like, what was it, 24? And I mean, this Alabama team, we still have at 21. They were like hovering around 10 for us for a while. That effort versus Bama was absolutely terrifying. I have some stats that are about to blow your mind before I turn it back over to you. 51% from the field, 17% or 17 free throws made. They out-rebounded by 11. 26 fast break points, 72 points in the paint. They just set the NCAA record for points in the paint against a consensus top 15 team. They forced 72 points in the paint. 72 points is what some teams score in 2 games. And they did it.
Bama only had 77 points total.
And they literally almost beat them with points in the paint alone. Add the free throws, and then they just beat them by 20 still. Forced Bama into 18 turnovers, 44% from the field. They only allowed 13 free throw attempts. They had 13 steals and 25 points off of turnovers. So just to recap, their effort versus Bama. 26 fast break points, 25 points off of turnovers, 72 points in paint. This might be the best all-around performance by a NCAA basketball team ever. I'm legitimately willing to go that far. I moved them to 7. I think you have them even higher, and I think that's the right place to put them. Oh my God, bro. If they didn't lose to Auburn, I might have had them as the 2nd team in the nation.
And I have that Auburn team ranked number 25. So like not a great loss for Florida at home, but this is a team that beat Tennessee by 30. This is the team that blew out Alabama. Like they held South Carolina to 48 points. Like this Florida team is firing on all cylinders, man, and they are scary good.
I've never
they dropped that Mizzou game. You remember they lost to Mizzou? We wrote them off.
Yeah, I think I literally moved them out of my top 25 when they lost to Mizzou. I mean, I actually can't get over this. Like 72 points in the paint. I've never heard of that.
They play Kentucky twice. They play Texas again. They play Arkansas. If Florida continues playing at this pace, they're the one. They're the 1 seed, the 1 line, because
they're the number 1 overall seed.
They have to. They have to be.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And that's what I like about college basketball. They're going to have a chance to prove it.
Yeah. And I am so impressed by that team. I think you nailed it, Rick. Like, I was a little harsher on them, I think, than you were. I'm very reactive in my rankings. And you kind of are a bit more stable, as we've seen by Tennessee, right? As we've seen by Illinois. I think you do a better job of remaining consistent. So you didn't knock them out of your top 25, but I do think you dropped them like down to like low 20s.
Yeah, I think I had him as low as 23.
And they are not looking like the 23rd team in the nation. So
No.
now I find this interesting when you talk about conferences. So why don't you walk me through arguably the worst Power Four? You can make a claim that they're not Power Four. Talk to me a little bit about the ACC.
Ugh, I hate
I know.
the ACC.
I do too.
Duke is phenomenal, right?
Duke is awesome. Duke is awesome.
Let's put that to the side and not talk about it anymore.
Yep.
Who from Clemson, Virginia, NC State, UNC, Miami, Louisville, maybe Virginia Tech is going to play well enough to make this tournament? And
the answer is
how
Virginia.
many do you think get in? I think Clemson's done enough at this point at 19-4.
Yep.
9-1 in conference. I think Clemson's in, even with a collapse. I think Louisville will be there. Miami is playing really, really good basketball. And as we talk about how the rest of this conference sucks, I kind of like Miami to make the field at this point because they are better than everyone but Louisville and Duke on a neutral court.
Virginia, I think I would struggle with there a little, but they're good. Like they're good.
and the thing is these teams are all going to play each other again. Like Miami plays Virginia on February 21st. So like they have Boston College, who they should beat the crap out of. UNC comes to Miami, an NC State team that looked really, really good at times this year. I mean, like Miami has spots where they can improve their resume and get into the tournament.
Yeah.
And like somehow we're talking about the ACC with like 6 or 7 bids, which is crazy because these teams are really bad.
And they're an insane offensive team. But what I like about this Miami team, to your point, is they've shown balance, right? Like they're 25th in scoring offense, but they're also 69th in scoring defense, right? Like they move the ball well, 17 assists a game, prolific from an efficiency standpoint. They're number 20 in effective field goal percentage. So I think it's a phenomenal call out on your behalf because, like, you look at the teams that are ahead of them in the ACC, I think they're better than North Carolina. I think they're better than NC State. Heck, if on a neutral court, I think they might even beat Clemson. So I really like your call out here. What seeding do you think they'll get? I think they're in, right? What seeding do you think they'll? Do you think they're a 7? Do you think they're an 8?
I have Miami as an 11 right now.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm not convinced that they're not a play in 11.
Okay.
I'm not convinced that they're not, last 4 in kind of team.
Sure. Okay.
Because of the resume, because they lost by Clemson, by 10 to Clemson.
Yeah.
That they have good wins that they've strung together.
Yeah.
But they're not elite. And I have them in the tournament field right now, but it's in the same breath as Georgia, San Diego State, Texas, teams that are power teams. And if they get in, they'll be, a split 11, a split 12, a 10, a 9, just because they're better than all these auto bid teams that have to go in.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could get them to a single digit seed reasonably.
Yeah. That makes sense. Man, that was a good recap. That was a really good recap.
Let's do I know there's a lot of new viewers on, and that's probably because we're doing the number draw for squares.
You're an idiot.
I know that's what everyone wants to see. So let me go ahead and throw that up on the screen here really quick. Let's do number draw for our Super Bowl squares. So this is going to be one set, 10 numbers from 0 to 9. This is going to be for the top. This is going to be for the Patriots side. Hit it. There's your line. I'm going to drop that in the chat here, and we'll come back. We'll do the Seahawks side in just a little bit. Always hustling.
I like it.
Always hustling.
Let's take a
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hit some dangerous 12s, man. So these are actually not my straight 12s right now. These are teams that were like 10 seed to 14 seed that like I really don't want to see if Wisconsin gets a 5 seed, right? Like that's kind of how I thought about this is like
Yeah.
who are the teams that can just fuck your whole world up and ruin your March because they got hot at the right time and your team like stumbled back into one of them.
Sure.
So that's kind of the approach I took. LSU, USC, who we talked a little bit about, the VCU Rams, and some Seton Hall Pirates, man.
Stole
Like
it from
these,
me. Damn it.
oh, yeah, Seton Hall. These teams all kind of have the same thing in common, and that's that they're fairly balanced on offense and defense. And not that they're good at both or at either, but they play consistent basketball across both phases of the game. And that's what I don't want to see out of a 12. Because if my team's a 5 and our shooting goes cold, and the team we're playing against just really consistently scores in the paint, shoots 52% from the floor, and they just truck along and do their thing as my team is cold, we lose that game. If my team decides to go all offense and not play any defense, the teams I'm afraid of are those teams that can play inside out and can draw you into the paint, kick it out to a hot shooter, and just nail threes and go up on you by 1 point every single possession and just slowly lull you to death. So those are the teams that I'm scared of, and that's what these teams are. We talked a little bit about USC at the bottom of the Big Ten. This team has already beaten Wisconsin, right? This is the kind of team who shows up and plays their game. And they don't win all those games, but they do it very consistently. LSU is very consistent as of late. They are kind of falling into a groove. And the thing with LSU is that every single player is an SEC athlete on this team. So, yeah, sometimes they do boneheaded things and they don't play well as a team. But when this team is humming, they are dangerous.
Very.
Seton Hall is kind of like the darker horse in this group for me.
Sure.
Very efficient on defense. They kind of just shoot, but they grind. They're playing Big Ten basketball. They ground out Marquette. They ground out Xavier. They are just going to kind of do it. So in a 12-5, like Seton Hall's the pick, right? Seton Hall's the one where it's like that's everybody's upset pick, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're playing like St. John's or Louisville, right? And it's like every single bracket has Seton Hall in it.
Yep.
Just because like it looks funny on paper.
Yeah.
And then VCU, Terrence Hill is a monster. And like this VCU team can score way more than old VCU teams. We talked about them a lot last year. It was defense. Well, this VCU team can shoot too. 40% from 3 for Hill. He can chuck them up and he makes his own space and it frees up everybody else. So VCU in a rock fight, 12-5. Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah. And what I love about this is if you guys go back and watch our prior episodes, there are 5 teams that we're calling out as dangerous 12s that have been on notice for us. And I just think that's so cool because we've kind of caught an eye for these teams earlier in the season because we like the way they play. They've got some good wins. And they're starting to put it all together. So who I got is the UNC Wilmington Seahawks, the Dayton Flyers, who I talked about a little bit, arguably the best mid-major team in the country in the Belmont Bruins, and a very, very sneaky West Virginia team. UNC Wilmington is going to slog you the fuck down. They are going to slow the game down. They are going to make you work. And they have 4 guys that are shooting above 40% from the 3-point range. If they slow you down, they're going to get into the paint. They're going to use their bodies, and they are going to dish to one of those 4 shooters and wear you down. They have 2 double-digit winning streaks this season alone, including a 30-point win versus Navy. This team is very complete. They're well-balanced. 4 guys averaging, double-digit scoring, and like 7 or 8 guys averaging double-digit minutes. I don't want Purdue to see this team. I don't want A&M to see this team. This is one of the teams that, if you haven't kept an eye on them this season, please check out one of their games. They're first in their conference, and they look really, really good. Rick and I talked about Dayton. We talked about the A-10. You got 2 A-10s that we've called out here as dangerous 12s. As recent as 2 years ago, Dayton was like a top 10 team in the nation. Obviously, with the transfer portal, they've kind of turned some guys over. Bad losses, they got crushed by VCU, they got crushed by St. Louis, but earlier in the season they were looking sharp. And I think as they start putting some of the efforts together, I think this is a team that nobody wants to see. 4 guys averaging double-digit figures. They don't shoot a lot of threes because they can't shoot a lot, but 14 assists to about 10 turnovers is really good. They work the ball around, they slow the game down, and they can score at a high clip when they want to. So I really, really like this Dayton team. The Belmont Bruins are the best mid-major team in the nation. They are 22-3, first in the Missouri Valley Conference, and they also have 2 double-digit wins. They have beat Drake by 13. They have a 40-point win versus St. Francis. They've beat the crap out of Air Force in the first game of the season by 16. This team is humming. And if you haven't had a chance to watch them play, I urge you to watch this team because they have one of the most efficient, balanced offense and defensive efforts that I have ever seen out of a mid-major. 5 guys, double figures. They have somebody shooting 62% from three-point range. Aiden Noyes can 62%. This guy can absolutely get on fire, and if you let him hit 2 in a row, he might make 6 in a row. This guy is unbelievable. They now have 5 guys shooting over 40% from 3, but that's not their game. They're averaging 84 points a game because they're getting to the line an incredible amount. They're averaging 52% from the field, just from overall. I love watching this team play. 40 rebounds a game. They absolutely clean house. I'm pulling for the Bruins. I think, if this Bruins team can run through the Missouri Valley, they're beating the crap out of teams like Drake, and Drake, upset, I think, Missouri last year. They look really, really good. So I'm keeping my eye on them as a 12 seed. West Virginia. They have Texas Tech tomorrow. This West Virginia team is sneaky. They have some good wins. They have some bad losses. They beat Kansas by 13. This team can slow you down. This team can shoot wildly efficient from 3. They're 6-4 in the Big 12. They're like they're 6th in the Big 12 right now. This team should have made the tournament last year, but they gave it to fuck-ass North Carolina. Check out a West Virginia game. The Mountaineers look really good this year, and they are incredibly balanced and very, very efficient from the field. So those are my top 4. I think that'll change kind of as, we watch conference play. If I had to choose one team out of this to keep your eye on, watch the Belmont Bruins, man. They are a scary, scary team.
And hard to watch. So if you see one of their games on ESPN Plus, just jump over to that because it's worthwhile.
Absolutely. Yep.
Game of the week, kind of prefaced a little bit smaller game. We're going to go to the OVC, hit some Ohio Valley basketball here. SIU, Edwardsville, and Little Rock. You see the ranking numbers there, which is why I did preface this. But this is going to be a really, really entertaining game.
Yep.
As I was doing my research, I watched Little Rock. It's a different level of basketball. But I think this is something that our viewers wouldn't get normally. These are 2 very evenly matched teams on paper. And that won't necessarily be the way the game plays out. UT Martin, for reference, is running away with the Ohio Valley. Skyhawks will probably win it.
Yep.
This is a game for seeding in the tournament. And in that vein, it's very, very important. As far as national exposure, non-existent. This game is on ESPN Plus today. But for the reasons we're about to talk about, this is one that's really, really worth your time to watch, especially if you love or are getting into small conference basketball, because these teams, OVC is putting 1 team in the tournament.
Yep.
And it's whoever wins the conference tournament. So the seeding for that tournament is immensely important.
Agreed.
So, Justin, what do you have on SIU, Edwardsville, and Little Rock?
I'm going to start off with Little Rock because I think it's more about Little Rock than it is about SIU Edwardsville. 9-15 overall, 5-3 at home, 4-12 away. Offensively, they're really bad. Like they're not very good. 301st in scoring, 273rd in 2-point percentage, 137th 3-point percentage. But they're starting to get a little hot. They're starting to get a little hot. I'm liking the way that Little Rock is playing. The one thing that I like about Little Rock is like if you watch their players, they're wildly athletic. So like when they go to the basket, they're incredibly crafty, and you're not blocking Little Rock when they go to the basket. Like they'll attack the big and finish around in like some wildly acrobatic finishes. Teams are only blocking them twice a game, which is number 1 in the country. Like it's pretty fun to watch if you see it Little Rock play. I like their balance. I will say the one thing that Little Rock I think has is balance. 5 guys are averaging over 10 a game, but out of those 5, 3 of them are shooting in the low 40s from the field. So they jack a ton, which is why they're scoring 10 plus points a game. But they're shooting, their shooting is really, really poor. They do a really good job of defending without fouling. That's about all they do on the defensive end. They're 24th in the country, only committing 15 fouls a game. I really like that type of effort. So for me, like the keys for me is like Little Rock can shoot really well. They're 36% from 3-point range, but you're going against the 49th best team in the nation and allowed 3 points made per game. So you need to bank on quality looks. My thing is SIU Edwardsville might not give it to you. So my key for them here, and something I'm going to keep an eye on, is don't attack the baseline, right? Don't attack the elbow. Get to the middle of the key because you're going to force the D to collapse, and that's the only way that you're going to get open looks, against an SIU Edwardsville team. You're allowing 11 offensive rebounds a game, which is 330th in the country. If you give a hot offensive team like SIU has proved they can be second chance points, they're going to blow you out of the arena. Secure that defensive glass, and let's make sure that I limit second chance points, right? Defensive pressure. You're 58th in turnovers forced a game. I really like that. And SIU can get sloppy. They're 180th in committed turnovers. So what I'm looking for out of Little Rock is start with like a 3/4 court trap. Right? Like start kind of making them a little bit uncomfortable, make them wind that shot clock down a little bit, and force them into some tougher looks. So X factor for me before I turn it over for you, apologies for the rant here, is Lawson's field goal percentage. Kid's good. 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He's shooting 40% from the field and takes some more than questionable shots, I think. So you need him to be a calming presence. Don't jack up 30-footers with 28 seconds left on the shot clock. Let's get into some sets, right? Let's make sure that we slow the game down slightly. And that, for me, is the key to victory for Little Rock. My apologies. What do you got on Little Rock?
So, in a weird scheduling quirk, these two teams both played Lindenwood as their last game.
What? Wait, what?
And yeah, and I watched both games, and they were eerily similar. The stats, the points, the runs, almost exactly the same. SIU won. Little Rock lost.
Interesting.
And it comes down to what I think this game will come down to. And it's free throw shooting at the end.
Yeah.
SIU Edwardsville is elite defensively. They smother. A lot of it is sample size, like we were talking about earlier. They play all these other OVC schools, but they do it really, really well, right?
Yeah, they do.
Play well against your schedule. What really pivots for me is that Ring Maleth is done for the year, and SIU Edwardsville now is without their unquestionably best player. This Little Rock team got lucky the first time through. They're now at home. SIU Edwardsville's without their best player. And so I came into this one. I've had SIU Edwardsville picked all week. And I'm sitting there. I was watching the compressed game again, SIU Edwardsville Lindenwood. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And I go back to the board. I'm like, how can I pick Little Rock, who is atrocious, who is on a 5-game losing streak? at the athleticism and the defense without fouling. They are fast. They are decent enough shooters, and they do not foul in the paint defensively. I think they are going to have more free throw opportunities. I think they're going to convert them at a higher rate. Those are the things that Little Rock does well. So if you strip the most explosive player off this SIUE team, I think that is how Little Rock can win this game. And I am going to pick Little Rock to win because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a great pick. Obviously, we'll get into the line here in a little bit, but my thing is, you're right. Like, their best player is out. You're missing 15 points a game, but this team is so elite on the defensive side of the court that I think you can win without those 15 points. So that's the reason why I took them. This is one of the best defensive low mid-major teams in the nation, and they're consistent at making you feel it. They've held teams to 50 points 8 times, including Drake, who only scored 59 points against them. That's a huge win to start the year. I mean, Rick, this team is 20th in scoring defense, 26th in allowed assists, 13th in 3-point percentage, 18th in 2-point percentage, and 12th in overall field goal percentage. This team is really good. One stat that I keep my eye on, because Little Rock can control itself very well on the offensive side of the court, is percentage of assists on field goals made, right? Meaning, are you forcing ISO, or are you allowing teams to get into their sets and generate open looks? Teams are assisting on like 48% of their field goals made, which is like 85th in the country. That's really good defense on SIUE's part. I think the one thing I'm concerned about for SIUE is if Little Rock somehow starts raining threes against you, which I don't see happening because your perimeter defense is so good. I don't think SIU has the firepower to keep up. And I think you called that out, right? 316th in scoring. They are 116th in 3-point percentage, so they can shoot threes, but they're 323rd in 2-point percentage and 287th in field goals made. I think for me, the keys is you got to find a way to get to the line and slow the game down. You're only shooting 19 free throws a game, and Little Rock, to your point, does a phenomenal job of defending without fouling. If SIUE has 10 free throw attempts by the half, I'm happy. And I think you're going to slog the game down, and I think that means you're going to be up 3 or 4 by half. Ball movement. Ball movement for SIUE is critical. You have to tire them out. They really only have 5 guys playing meaningful minutes, Rick. So if you make them work more on the defensive side of the ball, there's a better chance that you can force them into sloppy play by being tired. You're only averaging 12 assists per game. But if you have 7, call it 7 assists by halftime, you're doing the right thing, and I think there's a chance that you might be up 10. Don't be so top heavy. It sucks that your best player is out. You only have 2 guys in double figures, Malith and Thompson, albeit they're really good. If you have 4 guys in double figures, even if it's 10, 10, 10, 10, right? I think there's a strong chance that you win the game. Now, what's really interesting to me is we talk about Malith. I keep mispronouncing his name. My apologies. Yeah. You talk about Malith being out, but Sekenis, Arnis Sekenis might quietly be the best player in the game, and you'll need a double-double out of him.
And Ring's been out since the beginning of January, right? So like everything they've done in the last 8 games, they've done without him. So I mean, they've learned how to do that.
Yeah. So he's averaging 8 points, 5 rebounds on 65% from the field, but has been absolutely heating up lately. This could be one of the better big guys in low to mid majors. 4 straight games in double figures, including 2 massive double doubles. One of them he had 16 rebounds. One of them he had 13 rebounds. You'll need 10 points, 10 rebounds out of Sekenis if you want to win the game, but keep your eye on this kid. This kid can absolutely play. So just to round it out, I know Rick's got Little Rock. I think that's the right pick. I'm actually going to take SIUE in an upset, and I do think that it's going to be very, very close. Yeah, I got the Panthers.
Yeah, game sitting 1.5, totals at 131.5. But this should be a fun one to watch. There's a ton of good games on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
But definitely screen number 2. It's a cool gym, small gym. And those are always fun streams to watch on ESPN Plus.
Yes, sir. Really good game. Really looking forward to it. Obviously, you have one of the best games in or best rivalries in all of college basketball today. You got Duke, UNC. That'll be a really, really cool one to watch. Illinois, Michigan State in Michigan State. Make a statement, Illinois. You did it against Purdue. You went into Purdue and you beat the crap out of us by like 4. But show me you can beat Michigan State. That'll be a really, really good one to watch.
I want to pull these last numbers here, and then we can talk real quick about the setup this week. But these will be for the Seahawks side of the board. And there are your numbers. I'll drop those in the chat. Board will be updated shortly. That puts 7-7 down the left-hand side there. That's upper left corner. I can't remember who has that one. Hopefully not me, because then people get all bent out of shape about it. Can't make this any more random, okay?
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah, there's a good slate of games. You know, we talk about it every week. Like, as we get into conference season here, every game matters. Every game is fun. There's a couple that I've got my eye on. That Texas Tech West Virginia game tomorrow. That is a big one. I know no one's going to watch it because they'll be getting ready for the Super Bowl. But that is on Xavier St. John's on Monday. And then on Wednesday, I'm really interested in this Iowa-Maryland game for Iowa. This is the kind of game that Iowa has to win. They have to win it convincingly, or they're going to slip to the bottom of that grouping for the Big Ten that we were talking about, and that puts you on the bubble. So win the games you're supposed to win. But that one's in Maryland. It should be good.
Absolutely. You got Houston, BYU for me tonight. Probably not a game that you want to watch. That's going to get ugly. Arizona visiting Kansas on Monday the 9th. That's a trap. We know how good Arizona is. Kansas looks sharp. Heads up. Tuesday, February 10th is going to be a bloodbath between Purdue and Nebraska. Purdue doesn't look good. Nebraska's faltered as of late. Who's going to come out of that on top? I'm keeping my eye on that. Iowa State at TCU. Iowa State's starting to look real good again. TCU's a sneak. They're a sneaky little pick. So those are kind of the games I'm keeping my eye on, but definitely tune in to our game of the week. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
That 7-7 square, by the way, is our most prolific posting viewer, Al. So congrats. That's Dead Ball Dancing, team. We will be back same time, same place next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Yep. Watch good games. Do not watch the big games on ESPN unless it's all you have. There are some good ones, but there is so much good basketball going on right now that you can find, especially if you have cable, because then you have at least cursory access to ESPN Plus, right? They know they do packages and shit, but there's a lot of cool games out there. And this is the perfect time of year to watch those.
Absolutely. Tune in, watch MVC, watch A10. You're not going to be disappointed.
Thanks for joining us, Dead Ball Dancing. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And we'll see you. Peace out, y'all.
Peace, y'all.